Hi, I'm Clinton Saunders from SeeSIDE Extended in Cape Town, South Africa. This is the third video in a series about building financial reports in Excel by connecting to Business Central financial data. In this video, I'll be talking about the choices of data sources or web services from Business Central to use to build the financial reports. We'll see that there are many options to choose from, each of them giving us the data we need for the information we need to show in our reports. Unfortunately, many of them also have one or two limitations, meaning that we don't quite get what we need to fully do the reports we want to from each data source. Luckily, Power Query allows us to combine multiple data sources, and we can definitely use this powerful feature to get what we want. That does require a decent amount of experience using Power Query though, and that is why we designed a new Business Central page that can be published as a web service to be consumed in Excel to build financial reports. This is our financial summary web service page, which is part of our SeeSIDE Finance Pack extension. And I'll show you that in a little bit of detail in this video and how it solves some of the limitations of our other options. I must point out though that there are a host of options in standard Business Central that can be used to build financial reports in Excel. The only reason why you might want to add our web service page to your arsenal is to save you having to do a bunch of additional data transformations of multiple data sources to get the financial data shaped in the way that's going to help you with your financial reporting requirements. Okay, before we explore the different data source options, let's have a look at what we might need from our data source in order to do our financial reporting. So, we may need to produce the information at a high level account category or report line summary level, and it would be useful if our data source actually did have this level in it somehow, so that we could do this the summarization. But we might also need it at account level. And then below account level, we might also need to go down to dimension level and have that analysis as well. We all know what dimensions are in Business Central and NAV, I hope. Then on the number side, we need to be able to show the actual numbers. And for those actual numbers, we might want the current period, the year to date, and then we also need a combination of prior numbers for the current period, year to date, and possibly even the full year. And maybe we might want more than 1 year. And then we also might want to present these numbers in a monthly sort of analysis as well. Then we might also want the budget numbers, the same sort of set as the actuals, so current period, year to date, and a monthly analysis and a full year. Some of us use forecasting, where we might create multiple copies of the budget and produce a forecast, and maybe we might want to report on more than one forecast. And then also we need to be able to use the data to understand the difference between what year-to-date means for income statement accounts, where we only need to look at the summarization of the current year, versus a balance sheet account, where the year-to-date balance of that balance sheet account is essentially a sum of the entire history in that account. So we want our data source to be able to give us all of this information. So in this video, I'm going to have a look at 3 different standard Business Central options, and then we'll check each one off against the list of these needs that we've just looked at here. So the 3 pages that we'll look at will be the most obvious one to start with, which is the chart of accounts page. Then I'll take a look at the analysis view entries page. And then at a very nice page that I have used up until before we developed our page, which is the account schedule KPI web service page. And then once we've gone through all of those and checked all of them off against this list of needs, we'll have a look at our financial summary web service page that we've created at SeeSIDE. Let's start with our chart of accounts page. When financial people usually build an Excel financial reporting model, they often dump a chart of accounts, or more commonly referred to as a trial balance or TB, into an Excel sheet and then link up the numbers in their model to that TB. Now, we don't want to do the manual dumping bit, so if you recall from previous videos, you could publish the chart of accounts page as a web service in the web services page in Business Central, and then you can connect to that chart of accounts page using OData from your Excel model. If you remember from video 2, you would ideally load that chart of accounts into the Excel data model, so that your source data is out of the way, takes up less space in your file, and allows you to access the powerful formulas that I'll show you in the next video that I'll do as part of the series. So what does the chart of accounts page give us? So we have all our accounts listed with their account numbers and account names. we have this account category and account subcategory column here, which is part of a cool standard feature in Business Central that allows you to group your accounts into a set of standard categories and user-defined subcategories. And if you define these in line with your financial reporting lines, then that could be quite useful. These could be quite useful to get summarized totals for these groups in your reporting model. Then we have these useful numbers here, the net change balance, and there's actually another field called the balance at date, which could form the numbers that we need to connect to. The problem is that the context of these numbers have to be set using various filter total by filters. And that's easy to do inside this Business Central page, but a little more tricky when it comes to trying to do it from the Excel connection. So how does the chart of accounts page stack up against our list of needs? So the needs highlighted in green are sorted, and we can get these. So the account category reporting line summary, we can use the account category and account subcategory fields for that. We get the detail of the account level, and we do have the current period and year-to-date numbers, although, like I said earlier, we'd have to filter those using the date filters, and that's a little bit more tricky to do from the Excel side. The reds are not sorted, so in other words, we can't get those from the standard chart of accounts page. So we'd have to either connect to something else, or we would have to extend the chart of accounts page to include some of that. Some of those things would be difficult to do even with extensions, like for example the monthly analysis. And then the line highlighted in a peachy color, we could get that, but we'd have to do some serious modeling on the Excel side to achieve the exact requirement that we're trying to get to. So as you can see, there's quite a few reds and peaches with regards to connecting it to the chart of accounts page. Okay, let's have a look at the analysis view entries page. So the analysis view entries page is part of the analysis views and analysis by dimensions reporting features in Business Central. Without going into too much detail, what it basically allows you to do is to build and maintain a summarized copy of your general ledger numbers by account, period, and up to 4 dimensions. And it produces that summary in the form of analysis view entries, which you can view in the analysis view entries page. So on the analysis view entry page, you can see what we have here is we have it at account detail. We have up to the 4 dimensions defined as columns that we've chosen to summarize this analysis view by. We have the dates to indicate period, and then we have an amount field, which would form the basis of our numbers. So how does this deliver against our needs? As you can see, there's still a lot of reds and peaches, meaning that there'd be still a lot of work to have to be done on the Excel side in the form of data shaping and additional connections in order to get exactly what we need. So you can see we've lost our account category summary now. The numbers, we'd have to massage the numbers to get them into these different categories. And then if we wanted to have budget numbers, we'd have to connect to the analysis view budget entries page, which is a separate connection. Same with the forecast numbers. And then there's no logic when you're looking at entries in terms of building year to date. We'd have to do that manually on the Excel side. So a lot of work to do with this connection. Then there's the account schedule KPI web service page, which is a very cool standard Business Central page that works with account schedules. So it requires a little work on the Business Central side in that you have to define the account schedules that are closely aligned to your financial reporting requirements, and then choose which account schedules you want to expose to the KPI web service page using a general setup page. Now, the definition of account schedules is a whole different area that I can talk a whole day on, which shows that it is necessary for you to understand how to do that to use this feature properly. But what the account schedule KPI page does is that it takes each line that you've defined in the account schedules that are exposed to this page in the general setup, and it creates a copy of each line for every single account period in the reporting year that you selected, also in the general setup related to this page. And then for each line, it calculates various financial numbers that are relevant to that account schedule line and the related accounting period. So if you look at the page here, you can see that for this accounting period that starts on this date, for a line that's called total revenue in the account schedule, we have the net change actual, the balance at date actual, which is essentially the year to date, the same numbers for the budget, the same numbers for last year, and various other numbers here that could be useful to us. The account schedule KPI web service page, in my opinion, as a standard Business Central feature, delivers the best against the needs that I have defined in this video. Have a look here, a lot of greens. And the features that I have defined here are really just marked that way because it would depend on how you set up your account schedule. And these could easily be made green if set up in the correct way. The only things that we could not get is more than one forecast and more than one prior year. But if you don't need those, then you could very definitely benefit by using this page to build your financial reports. The only additional requirement would be that you would need to know how to build account schedules, but I think that is something that every financial person that uses Business Central should be trained on how to do anyway. The account schedules that you set up could form a dual purpose and could be used inside of Business Central to explore your financial reports and drill down to the transactional detail that make up the numbers. It also works on the principle that you do all of the setup of mapping accounts to report lines inside of Business Central and just do the reporting inside of Excel. At the end of this series, I may just do an additional video where I can take you through the process of using this page to build a financial report in Excel. So with most of these options, we have some common gaps, and these basically are, firstly, we have to do some additional complex data modeling in Excel to get exactly what we need. Then in some of these cases, we'd have to connect to more than one source and then use Power Query to combine them to build a simple data model. And then finally, we have to use some of the more complex Power Query features like filters in order to contextualize some of the numbers. So we created the financial reporting summary web service page to eliminate these gaps and produce a single page that could be published as a web service that delivers all of the needs that I have listed in this video. So let's have a quick look at this page. So in essence, it uses a similar principle that the standard Business Central account schedule KPI web service page uses. The main difference is that instead of the lines being based on account schedule reporting lines, it creates lines for accounts and then combinations of dimension values that exist within the detailed entries. And it does this for each accounting period, much like the account schedule KPI web service page does. So this means that you don't have to define any account schedules to begin using this page. So what I've done here is I've done a filter on a single accounting period and a single account. And as you can see, it's given me multiple lines. So the reason for that is because these lines exist, there's entries that exist with various different dimension value combinations. So, you know, department sales, there's a bunch, all of them have department sales in them. They all have a blank project code. There's various different combinations of customer group code, single area code, various combinations of business group code. So you get the meaning. So what Business Central will do is it will break the account up into that level of detail. And if I take the account filter off, it does that for every single account. And then it repeats that process for every single accounting period in your reporting period, which you set up in the setup. Then for each line, it defines obviously the account information, like the account number, account name, tells you whether it's an income statement or balance sheet account. It's got the account category and account subcategory, very much like the chart of accounts page had. I'm not going to talk about this reporting subtotal. That's part of the extension, and it delivers an additional summarization level that can be defined in the account category and subcategory setup. It's got up to 8 dimensions combinations defined here, and those are all defined in your general ledger setup page as your shortcut dimensions. And then you've got a bunch of numbers. So for every single one of these account dimension breakdown period combinations, you've got the period actual that is relevant to that period, the year to date for that period, the prior year for that period, but the prior year, the year to date prior year, the full year of the prior year related to that period. And then it's got a second prior year and a third prior year. So that allows you to report up to 4 financial years. Then it's got the same numbers for the budget. And then you define the forecast, the budget that you want to use as forecasts, as well as the budget you're using for a budget. And then what it will do, what this page will do, it'll give you the breakdown of the various numbers for up to 3 forecasts. So that is what the page delivers. And checking our needs list, the financial summary web service page delivers all of the needs that we listed. So we've got green across the board. So it gives us the account category reporting line summary level. We've got detail at the account level. We've got it at the dimension level. We've got all the actual numbers we need here, current period, year to date, prior year. We've got prior year for 3 prior years. We could do a monthly analysis because we have all the periods. We've got the budget numbers. We've got the forecast numbers, again, more than 1 year, again, more than 1 forecast. We've got up to 3. And this, because we've got year-to-date numbers and current period numbers, this also understands the difference between balance sheet year-to-date numbers and income statement year-to-date numbers. So in the coming videos, I'll be taking you through the process of building an Excel financial report model by publishing this page as a web service and then connecting to it in Excel, and then building the Excel a sample report. In the next video, I'll show you how to publish the web service, this page as a web service, how to connect to it, which is basically a refresher of video 1, do some basic data modeling, and then I'll show you how to do some basic exploring of the data in Excel using pivot tables, and then introducing you to 2 very powerful Excel formulas that you'll use when building the financial reports. Till then.